have 3 books to review today. And I'm pretty sure I won't do monthly wrap-ups because first of all, it's too much talking for me. And second of all, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself to read a lot of books because I've been in a slump for like 6 months and I just want to review books when I feel like it, when I feel like I have things to talk about. So yeah, today I got 3 books to talk about and all 3 of them are first in the Romantasy series. So we can talk a bit more of if I'm gonna continue or not the series, so let's go. So the first one I have to talk about is the book of Azrael by Nicole. I talked about it in my last video, but and I was talking about that I was reading it and I now finished it, obviously. So in this book we followed Diana, and a few centuries ago she made a deal with a demon to save her sister who was dying, and now this demon wants Diana to find a book, the Book of Azrael, and because of this search, a god comes back into the picture in this world. He is named Samkiel, but also named Liam, and he's like, I knew Azrael, I knew he didn't read any book, so this book doesn't exist. And it's kind of enemies to lovers because Liam, since he's a god, he hates the kind of creatures that Diana is, and but they have to cooperate together to find the book before Caden, which is the demon that turned Diana, to save her. Long story. But they have to have a kind of partnership to find the book before the demon because he wants to destroy the world and open up gates to other worlds. And Liam and Diana don't want to. So yeah, it's kind of a complex stories, and for me the biggest problem was the world building, because I had to do some research to just understand the world building. For me, it was like at the beginning of the book, you're dropped in the middle of the scene with new terms, new names, and you're like, okay, and you don't really know what's happening, and that's kind of the theme for the entire book. So yeah, at some point I had to do some research because if I don't understand a world not quickly but easily, I DNF a book, and I didn't want to DNF this book, so I had to do some research, and that spoiled me like the whole series, because there was some kind of Wikipedia for this book, and every time you clicked on the character it was like, oh yeah, this happens in this book, this happens in this book. But for me it was really important to understand the world. So yeah, I got spoiled, but oh well. and I didn't feel like the author made the right move with the world building. So in this world, there's a lot of creatures, but there's also humans. So you have humans, demons, shifters, vampires, shadows, gods. And for example, we only learn at the end of the book that humans don't know that other creatures exist in the world. And I'm like, it's a bit too late. Because a lot of paranormal things happen. And I'm like, how do you explain that to humans if they don't know that other creatures exist? So yeah, that's one of the example of many. But yeah, my biggest problem with the book was the world building. But at some point I was like going along for the ride, and I enjoyed this book. I didn't really like when if you read the book, when they find the Book of Azrael, I didn't like this scene and what happens after, and I was like, it's too cliche, it's too predictable, and I'm like, seriously? But I think my favorite scene was the last one, when Caden is on TV with the demons and other creatures. I really like the gruesome imagery. And when I imagine it in my head, I really liked it. So yeah, it's the first of a long series. I think for now there's 4 books out, or the 4th book is coming out soon, and I think it's like a 8-book series or something like that. Will I continue it? I think so, because I'm interested with the cliffhanger, but I'm not gonna rush to read the sequel, because the other problem I had, and maybe it's linked to the fact that I had a problem with the world building, is when I was putting it back down, I didn't feel any inkling to pick it up again. So I took quite a long time to read this book. So yeah, first book reviewed. The second book, I haven't hold it yet because I received it like a week ago and I read it almost immediately. And it's The Warrior Midwife. So I'm gonna show you. You have like this. I don't really like this cover. And it's a special edition from the Fable Crate, but I got it on Vinted, of course. So in this book, you follow Saraya, who is a princess of a kingdom, and at the beginning of the book, there's an arranged marriage between her and the Fey kingdom, and she has to marry the firstborn of a king, so a prince, you know. But she doesn't want to, and she tries to escape, and then she also has powers. This book, for me, tried to do too much in very little pages, because in this book, yeah, you have arranged marriage. She goes to a school. She also has powers, but there's not really any limitation to the power. I thought it was only linked to being a midwife, so she talks about how she can sense when a baby is in distress in the womb and some stuff like that. But she also can change. She at some point to go to the school because she goes to a male school. She transforms herself into a female, and she's a female, not a female, and she's human, meaning she has rounded ears and stuff like that. So she can also shapeshift, I'm gonna say. And there's also demons in this book, and there's also like an order of midwife. So there's also ghosts. This book tried to do a lot of things, and I think that's the biggest problem of this book. The other problem for me is the writing. I thought, when I was reading it, I thought it was like a debut book, but not at all. And I was quite surprised because for me, the writing is very clinical. And also, the first scene, you have like a birthing scene, and you immediately have like clinical terms with the birth and being pregnant, and it's kind of jarring when you talk about very technical things and then you're in the fantasy world, because for me it didn't work in this case. So yeah, I read the book. Do I recommend it? Not really. Will I continue? No, I think it's just a trilogy and I think the other two books are already out. But I'm not interested to continue, and for me the only saving grace, I'm gonna say, was the character Drake. But unfortunately we don't really get a lot of his POVs. It's mainly one POV like Saraya, but I think we get like 3 or 4 chapters from Drake, and for me it was not enough. I have to say, if you want to read it, there's trigger warning for parental abuse, and it's quite descriptive, so yeah, and also child loss and pregnancy complications. So yeah, that was this book down, and I feel like with like in my last and first reading vlog with a language of dragons, I feel like I'm being quite disappointed in beautiful books, but I hope it's not gonna be a common theme because I have a lot of beautiful books on my TBR. So yeah. Second book reviewed. And the last book, I don't have it here, but I think I'm gonna buy it and put it on my bookshelf. Ooh! And it's A Court is Cruel and Lovely by Stacia Stark. I finished it like this week. And this book, we follow Priska, and in this world, it's a fantasy world. And in this world, when you are born, you have to give your powers to the gods, so they keep protecting you, and you get your powers back when you're 25. But the problem is, Priska, when she was born, apparently she didn't give her powers to the gods. And if you don't give your powers to the gods, you're considered corrupt. And then you're killed, your whole family is killed. And if anybody else in your life knew you were corrupt, everybody's killed. So yeah, at the beginning of the book, Priska tries to escape because some people learn that she has powers and she's not 25 and she didn't receive the powers back from the god. So she tries to escape, and when she escapes, she finds a group of mercenaries, and of course, she falls in love with the chief of the mercenaries. And then she learns that her best friend was also corrupt, and they didn't know that each other had powers. And she learns that her best friend is in a dungeon of the palace of the kingdom, and she wants to free her, so she infiltrates the palace. At some point, Lorian, which is the chief mercenary, also comes to the palace, and they meet up again. They didn't know they were gonna meet up again. I really liked in this book the female friendship, because I feel like in a lot of books and romantasy, at some point, like the main female character has a goal to free somebody or to help or to find something about her power, but as soon as she falls in love with the main character, the other main character, it's like this plan is kind of the back burner. But I really liked in this book that Priska really wanted to help her friend, save her friend. And so, yeah, I really like the female friendship aspect of this book, which I feel like is kind of lacking sometimes in romantasy. I also liked the fact that Lorian at some point pushed too much Priska to use her powers or to help him, and sometimes he did it in a kind of a dickish way. And I really liked that Priska pushed back Lorian when he was going too far, and I really liked the snarky comments. And for me, she was quite strong and had a lot of she was strong-willed, and I really liked that. I think the only thing I didn't really like in the book was the group of mercenaries. Lorian is his own characters, but I think there's like 3 or 4 other mercenaries, and to me they were not easily discernible of who was who. And there's a lot of unique names, which I really like, because I feel like in a lot of romantasies the names kind of mesh, like every book it's very similar name. In this book it was not the case, I felt like, but the guys all resembled each other, and I'm like, who is he again? Who is he again? So yeah, I think that's the only negative thing I really have to say, or that I really remember about the book. I was looking at my notes, but I don't have anything else to say. So yeah, will I continue the series? Yes, and sooner than later. I think I want to read all the books rather quickly. So yeah. 3rd book down and 3rd book reviewed, and that marks the end of the video. I hope you like this format, and I think I will continue to do that when I feel like I have a lot to say about books. And so yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!